We have someone who can help us with questions about that. Joining me and Jay Moore and Sean Callahan is the athletic director at the University of Nebraska, Troy Dannen. So what do you think of those grades?
I probably wouldn't have picked 0-3, and I certainly would have been the guy that said F on there on that survey. But hey, the jury's out on everything, right? And you know, on paper, I've known Dana for a while, not in the same capacity that Matt has, and I love Dana. You know, we played against him when I was at Tulane. He was at Houston, and I know the regard my coach had for going up against his offense. Mm-hmm. I spent a little time with him personally, and I like him a lot personally. So I was thrilled when Matt decided to make the move, and sure feels like we got the right guy.
Troy, how unique is this situation to do it, though, at this time? But at the same point, the rules changed this year that you can do this a lot easier than even a year ago.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to a few people the last couple of days, and no one can recite a time when a coordinator on either side of the ball got let go and was replaced by someone from the outside in season, particularly in week 9 or week 10. So it's unusual. However, I think the fact that you have a guy who's been a head coach multiple places and been around the game, and a guy like Matt who's experienced, you know, everything aligns for why it can happen. You know, I wouldn't say it can happen every place, and I think everybody will look at this around the country. There's a lot of coordinator jobs open right now, and I think people are looking with a close eye on what happens at Nebraska to see how that exactly works out.
Troy, obviously, Sean already said a lot of changes coming within college football. Obviously, a lot of changes next year as well with revenue sharing. How is Nebraska situating themselves to handle the revenue sharing heading into 2025 and positioning themselves to be at the top of everything going forward in college athletics?
You know, we've talked since the settlement was first announced, you know, how the Big Red N got to be the Big Red N. And it really came from being innovative and being a leader along the way. You know, from the strength program to the nutrition program to having the 100 suites before anybody understood you needed 100 suites to monetize your football stadium. This is that opportunity for us now, is to use this rule change, use this evolution of the game to really jump ahead, be innovators and be leaders. And I think the one thing I've noticed internally is the great work that's been done by my predecessors to make this a financially sound, and not just sound maybe, but a financial behemoth that we can withstand and invest into what's happening rather than have to cut our way to it, and really gives us a competitive advantage. You know, the one thing about AD's coaches, you know, everything is about where's our competitive advantage, and I think we found it. We'll be in good shape. There's just a lot of changes, and a lot of things will be hard for people to accept. The idea of paying players is hard when you grew up in an era when it was verboten. The idea from a player standpoint, you know, the rosters are going to constrict a little bit, and it's going to look a little bit different. There are things we're all going to get used to, but it's just part of natural evolution, or maybe it's a revolution. But as things evolve, if you don't accept them, you'll get run over. And this is something we're going to accept and embrace and be the one that runs others over.
Troy, not only is Sean Callahan a South Omaha guy, he's also a South Stadium guy. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen with the renovations, what's starting with South. What are you guys going to do?
Well, we can keep his seat for Sean in the
Row
South
88.
if you really want it.
Just give it to him and take home.
Those are my dad's seats still.
No, I think the plan right now, and obviously we've got to get approvals, my president, the board, but we're working toward what I think will be a post-26, post-27, really thorough renovation of the stadium. South has to come down. To tie everything else together, there's no keep a little bit of it, or it has to come down. I think we can rebuild half of it and put some temporaries in to really protect our capacity for 27 before that's finalized in 28. And then the East and the West, maybe East chairbacks, West, anywhere from doing chairbacks to really taking inside the tower down and reconstructing it. There's a lot of deferred maintenance underneath there, and whether if we just cover it up, I'm not sure that we don't just buy ourselves some more problems down the line. And that's what the architects right now and the engineers are working on, and building a sound financial model. You know, going forward, the stadium, has to provide the amenities of the day. You know, we talk about the sellout streak a lot, and part of it, there's a lot of alternatives for people now than to go to Memorial Stadium. And we want people to be comfortable and enjoy when they get there. The quality of play's got to be good, right? But we also
And Wi-Fi.
You're going to have alcohol. Wi-Fi will be there when the stadium's done. So make it as good of an experience. We're going to have a scoreboard in there that hopefully will dwarf almost any other scoreboard in the country to make it feel awesome when you get in there. So that's all part of it. But at its core, besides doing that for all those reasons, the financial model in athletics is changing, and the idea that the stadium can help generate new money to fund, we'll continue to pay players,
Right.
and the revenue sharing will continue to increase. And I've said this before, and I think I said it last week to Sean, we can't just keep raising ticket prices in an effort to take on the new financial initiatives that lie ahead. So more premium, more options, more ways to generate revenue outside of just charging more for the tickets in the stadium. That's the long-term recipe to financial success.
We've seen the capacity over the last 25, 30 years go from 72 to 93, back to about 86 where we're at now. I mean, do you have an idea, a magic number of what is the right capacity when you do all these improvements?
My guess is the number is going to be right around 80, maybe a tinge underneath of it. I haven't seen final plans yet. We have 19-inch seats throughout the stadium, and no one's 19 inches any longer. And when you put chair backs, you can't put a 19-inch chair back in. So just the chair backs alone at 21 inches are going to start to consume some space. So there will be a little bit less. My guess is when the stadium's all done, we'll start looking at north and figure out the ways to do something in north and maybe get those seats back. I do know, the demand curve has trailed off in a lot of places. It has not in Nebraska. And I think the one thing we have to guard against is creating an environment where people actually can't get in. Because I don't anticipate another 8-year run without going to a bowl game, or 7-year run without going to a bowl game. And the one thing I thought it was this way, but in the face of success, what Husker fans can do and what they want to do and how they want to embrace this program, we have to build a stadium that's going to account for the success we expect to have long term.
Joe, I think it's funny, we talk about all the stadium renovations, South Stadium, all these things, but something that's kind of fell through the cracks is the transition to grass inside the stadium. So what's that process looking like for Nebraska that's been turf for 50 plus years now to go to a natural surface?
It has. So first, before we get there, we will have new turf in the stadium next year.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to put new turf in Hawks immediately after this season. So hopefully by the time the second semester starts for the sports that use Hawks indoor, there'll be new turf in there. And then after spring ball, we will put new turf in the stadium. The reason for it is that the turf, when I say it's failing, it's not the best turf. It's not state-of-the-art turf. And I was here for the spring game early on. We had 2 knee injuries, guys that aren't back yet, and you just can't have that. So we want to get the best turf, and knowing though that grass is ultimately the safest surface that we can have, but because of the construction, and a lot of the construction will have to be done inside out, we'll just tear the field to bits. So with the turf, with what we're putting in, we'll be able to actually roll the turf in the off seasons, do work, and then put the turf back down. Ultimately, when we go to grass, once the stadium's all done, which I would expect is probably the 28th season when everything is done, go to grass, that turf will just move outside the stadium. We'll repurpose it, have a place for the band to practice, because when that baby's grass, there's nobody going on it. It is going to be pristine and protected.
You mentioned you don't foresee another bowl drought. How important is it getting this win over these next 3 to get that bowl?
It's important in a lot of ways. One, I'm about ready to go out and try to raise $100 million to do a stadium renovation.
Yeah.
And I want people to, I feel it, but people aren't walking around the same halls that I'm walking around and understand it. And the burden of the bad run over the last decade or so, I don't bear it.
Sure.
I wear it because of the job, but I haven't experienced what a lot of our fans have experienced. Coach hasn't experienced it. So while we feel it's good, I think our fans need it. That's the demarcation of progress, I think, for a lot of people. So you can say there's extra pressure there or not, but when I got here, I went around to all the coaches and all the sports, and you ask why and why not.
Right.
Why, John Cook, are you doing what you're doing, and why not in places that we haven't been able to get it done? And the only thing I can tell you is this: I think, with a lot of respect to the past here, we quit adapting a little bit internally, operationally in the department after the 3 championships of the 90s. And as a result, now we're playing catch up a little bit as we move into the Big Ten. So we have to get our operation right. This is bigger than football. And I would say a lot of sports can win in isolation. Football can't win unless everything in the department is running full steam. And I'm not saying, I'm not sure we're all there. So trying to get all the support mechanisms from academics to development to marketing to everything up to a speed that supports championship level football, the coaches and the players have to have that in order to achieve what they want.
Troy, something else you talked about was finding new revenue streams, putting more events in Memorial Stadium. You discussed possibility of a Bud Crawford fight, a concert tour series. Just how far away are we from some of those things? Could we see events in the stadium this summer?
I don't know that we'll see it. I'm not sure what's touring. And we've had conversations with promoters. We've had conversations with third parties who work with the promoters, because we don't have that necessarily, that expertise. But, is it UFC? Is it WWE? Is it what goes into stadiums? Look around the country and let's just try to figure out what we can get in there. Now, I've mentioned this. I have a placeholder in the budget for next fiscal year, which is July to June of 25 to 26. 2 shows, 2 events in there. Hopefully it happens. There is nothing booked in there just yet, but that is a pursuit. We have to use the stadium. We're going to invest, tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars in renovating the stadium. It needs to be used more than 7 days a year.
Troy, you talked about adapting to the changes and obviously going forward. How important is 1890 playing with this in this relationship with the Pede family and everything that they've stepped up and just said, we're willing to help in any way and fashion, but how important have they been to just getting, adapting to these new changes of new college athletics? I
would say, and I don't think this is overstating it, had they not stepped up in the way and when they stepped up, we would have fallen further to our knees, and I'm not sure we would have gotten back up. And it had NIL, whether you liked it or not, had to be embraced. And those behind the collective, the Pede family in particular, but there's a lot of folks who've given lots of money to that collective. They embraced it. Maybe when we didn't necessarily internally, but they embraced it. And now I think we've caught up to them, and we're working in great partnership with them. This year, when I say we collectively, because our fundraisers, our development officers are raising money for the collective. And one of the things we did, that I think we were the first in the country, that say that money can count toward your Husker Athletics Fund points. And now everybody's doing that. So again, it's one of those where we took an initiative, we did it, and all of a sudden everybody thinks this is a pretty good idea. We need to do what Nebraska does. And so that mentality of, I don't want to worry about what Ohio State's doing or Penn State's doing. I want Ohio State and Penn State to start worrying about what Nebraska's doing. And I think where we're going right now with the collective in really full partnership with everybody at 1890 has allowed us to get in a position. It's why we have a quarterback. It's why the recruiting class is, as Sean knows, is as highly rated as it is.
The big ones are coming.
And that's exactly right. So, but all of those things need to be working together, and I think we're in a great place.
What about the 12-team playoff? We had another pool that came out today. What's your feel on that? How long do you think it lasts before we expand it? What's your feel on it?
I do think it'll expand. I don't know if it'll go to 16, but I could see 14 coming. But when I say I love it because in the month of November, right now there are 20 schools fighting for a shot, thinking they have a chance, instead of last year this time there were 6. And so, you're always going to have a debate and discussion point about the last 2 at-larges, right? And then how the seeding works. But there's great debate, and that's the entertainment value in it. But the one thing I think you're seeing, and why the 12-team playoffs are particularly valid right now, the transfer portal, if nothing else, has distributed talent across. There was a fear, right, when the transfer portal and NIL came, that all talent would consolidate in 5 places. In fact, just the opposite has happened. And that's why you see this logjam in the Big Ten of everybody being anywhere from 6-4 to 4-6. Outside of maybe those top 4, the talent is spread, and things happen in a weekend that maybe surprise us, but it shouldn't, because there's more talent at more schools. I think that's good for the game. I am worried about TV ratings, because that $200 million budget that Nebraska carries, a third of it's going to come from television and television viewers. And so it's really, really important to us that people stay engaged in the game.
You know, that you mentioned the SEC and the Big Ten. 8 of the 12 spots in the playoff this year could be from those two leagues. You were in Nashville about a month ago with the leaders from the Big Ten and the SEC. You guys talked about maybe future collaboration. Is there anything more you could discuss, just where this could all head with the two leagues working together?
No, and I don't know. I might even stop short of whether there was a lot of collaboration. It was just more of, you know, we're similarly situated in this era, and a lot of changes in our structure and how are we operationalizing those changes in the face of the House antitrust case. You know, how the playoff works, you know, the one thing I do know about antitrust, because I did pass econ that one year I took it when I was in college, is that a lot of collaboration leads to additional antitrust violations. So I think understanding where people are at, you know, the SEC is going to operate in its way, you know, the Big Ten's going to operate in its way, but for the good of the game, the good of football, all 4 leagues, the group of 5 leagues, FCS, Division II, Division III, we all have to protect the game of football. And I hope at whatever point in time, while the SEC and the Big Ten have a big voice right now and maybe a lot of muscle, there's responsibility that comes with that voice and that muscle. And that is to make sure we protect all levels of college football, because that's what protects high school football. And you know, if you believe like I do, football is a great game with great lessons that come from it. Mm-hmm. You know, this isn't the NFL. And there are a lot of things that maybe look like the NFL and start to feel like the NFL. But at the end of the day, Friday and Saturday football is I think, core to the culture of the country. And so I hope we protect the responsibility that we have.
Such a whirlwind from you, from Tulane to Washington to here. Are you having fun? Have you settled down, first of all? Are you having fun?
No, I've not settled down. I'm having a ball. You know, you come to Nebraska because you want people to be mad when you're 5-4. By golly, you know, I've heard from them the last few weeks. But you come to Nebraska because people care. They're engaged. I call it the give a darn factor is so high here. And great things happen when you have that give a darn factor. So loving that, loving our coaching staff is absurd. The quality of coaches we have, the staff is loyal and caring, has the right interests at heart. The staff has to work to put the coaches and the athletes in a position to succeed, and I don't worry about that here. So you talk about all the things that have to be in place. You know, I'm tired when I go home, and I can't wait to wake up in the morning. It's a great place. Nice. I've probably spoken 75 times around the state. You know, growing up in Iowa, and I know Iowa and Nebraska have this thing, but culturally, you know, I think we're very similar people, that we care for one another, put a lot of passion, and there's a lot of work ethic every place you go. So for me and my wife, it's been fun to get back into this environment and feel right at home.
Sean, last one. Want to jump on him?
Stump me here.
I'm sorry.
Bowl game stuff, I guess.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I know we don't want to jinx anything, but what kind of interest do you think bowl partners would have in Nebraska if they got to bowl eligibility?
Well, I will say this: we've had perfect weather for our first 6 games, and the crowds have been fantastic. The atmosphere, particularly for those night games, was special. And there were a lot of bowl reps through those games. I had a chance to talk to all of them. You know, the only people that want Nebraska back in the bowl system more than Nebraskans are the bowl reps.
Oh yeah.
And so there will be a long list of people fighting to get us back. It's been a while. They know our fans are looking forward to going someplace, and so you know, hopefully we get to that point. But you know, the fan base here carries a reputation and a brand bigger than anybody thinks it is. And I know when you live here, you think it's something else. But this brand, this fan base means more nationally than I think anybody understands. And so we have a long list of friends out there waiting for us to come, wherever it is.
No doubt.
Get it done.
Hey, Troy, we appreciate thanks for taking the time.
No, I appreciate the invitation. It was good to talk.
It was great talking to you.